Alright, so today we're going to talk about DoorKing systems. I know the logo is blending in with the back of the slide, I'm sorry. So DoorKing systems, for the most part, are usually control boxes and gates for residential areas. A lot of times it'll be like a private or gated, not community, private or gated neighborhood. A lot of times we'll have them. And they're pretty prevalent in the United States. I live in Oklahoma, and there's a bunch of them just around. I can actually walk to one right now, and there's one right next to it as well. So Dorking Terminals are these little blocks. You can normally tell if it's a DoorKing or not because there are these three big buttons, A, Z, and call, on just about every DoorKing, and a lot of them have the little DKS logo on the upper left corner. They're pretty. They do stand out quite a bit, and if you're looking for them, you'll see them everywhere. Once that gets in your head, you'll not stop seeing them. And they're pretty neat little devices and how they work. You enter your PIN, whatever. If you live in an apartment complex that has one of these, your landlord will give you a PIN or something like that. Same thing in a neighborhood, and the landlord puts these PINs into the machine, programs them for you, and then gives it to you. So they're pretty neat in the way they work. Major security flaw with DoorKing systems is this gosh dang key. It is like $20 on Amazon, and the majority of DoorKing systems will be opened by it. What does that mean for all intents and purposes? If you have this key and you see a DoorKing system, there's like a 90% chance that it will be the right key to open that up, which becomes a lot more important later on when I kind of explain like how easy it is to bypass DoorKing systems, because they do have a lot of flaws, and basically every model of the DoorKing terminal that I've seen has these exact flaws. So using this knowledge on any other DoorKing system, you'd probably be able to do the exact same thing. So, okay, wonderful. It's cropped a little bit. This is the inside of the DoorKing terminal. A nice big circuit board, and then at the bottom you've got a little terminal block. And what you probably can't see is on the lid there's a tiny micro switch. And if you open up the front plate of this terminal and then hit that switch, whatever gate you're trying to get into or door or something like that will almost always come open. I believe it's called a Postal Switch. It's meant for postmen. They have their own little key they stick in there, and that hits that switch. But you can completely negate that other key that you don't have. This is assuming you have the DoorKing key. Just by opening up that front panel, it's on a little hinge. You hit that button for like a second, and then you'll hear a loud beep, and that gate will open. Here's a better view of the circuit board. So you've got the main board, and then there's an LCD. The LCD is stacked on top of the board. You don't need to mess with that. Don't need to mess with the keypad. Don't even need to mess with the terminal block. Here's that little micro switch. If that is in there, all you gotta do is just flip that switch. If it's not, then a way to bypass that is on the blue wire and the white and orange wire on the terminal block. If you short that out, that'll count as a press of the switch, and the gate will open. You'll know that something has happened because there will be kind of a loud beep. That just is the DoorKing terminal indicating that something is happening. Almost always just the gate opening or closing. So, other than the big DoorKing terminals that are for opening gates and getting into apartment complexes, there are also these. These are RFID card readers. They're a lot smaller, but they do use the same key, or at least the ones I've come in contact do. And from what I've seen online, the majority of these have the same key. So these are pretty neat. They have them in front of just like smaller gates that have a magnetic lock on it, so you can go up and hold your card up to it, and then pull on the gate, and the magnetic lock will release. They're pretty nice, but they do have that same problem of once I get that open, if there's a switch in there I can press, or just something to short, then I can get the gate open without having the card. So, okay, that didn't crop well. Sorry about that. There is a switch input, which I wanted to point out. It's on COM and NC, those two wires. And that switch input goes to a postal lock somewhere if you have one installed, which some places don't have them installed. So that would just be a secondary key that the postman would have, or anyone else could have, where you can open that gate with a different physical key other than the DoorKing key or the RFID card. So this the terminal in those, it's 18 pins. If you short pin 7 and pin 14, which is a blue and white wire, if there's anything connected to it, that will open the gate up. It'll count that as a input from a switch. If you just short it for like a few seconds, you could use a paper clip or just like a small piece of wire. Something like that would work pretty well. And then I have an honorable mention. The fire department sometimes have boxes next to the DoorKing system, normally next to the terminal. And the key on the majority of those boxes is the DoorKing key, which is kind of stupid. But every single time I've ever opened one of these fire department boxes outside of a resident or business that has a DoorKing system, these have always been empty. And it should be there's a switch bypass on the inside so that you can get into the gate. But the majority of these I've ever found are just completely empty, and I don't know why they bother to install them if there's nothing in them. So that was kind of brief, and that's just because I don't really have that much to share about DoorKing. If I owned a gated community, or if I owned like an apartment complex and I needed a gate, I probably would not use DoorKing. Just because the key is available on Amazon. The majority of systems that I could install would have that key. And once someone gets into that terminal, they're free to roam around and get in and do whatever they want. So there are ways to fix this. Some of the DoorKing terminals are not installed with the switches, which makes things easier for someone that wants to break in. So that switch on the inside sometimes just isn't there. But you can also take it out if you don't need it. Because I'm assuming if some of them don't have it, that means you don't always need them for the post service. So you could take out that switch. You could also just take out the DoorKing lock on the terminal and install your own lock with your own key that is not standardized, and I think that would probably be a lot better. Other than that, I mean, it doesn't take that much technical skill really to get into one of these. It really just requires a key and a little bit of knowledge from the internet, which is dangerous. And, if you have an apartment complex or something like that, you see that DoorKing system on there, you should know that's not as secure as you'd hope it would be. So, I'm Patrick. This is FORDy-TWO. My Instagram is pseudosu42 if you want to check stuff out. I have done some DoorKing stuff on my Instagram. I've walked around and opened them up in neighborhoods just to see what's in them. So if you want to check that out, go ahead and check that out if you'd like. And I hope to see you guys again. Thank you.